Okay, item 10C, report from the Director of the Recreation Committee, from Director of Recreation, regarding the proposed changes to rec fees.
Thank you, Mayor Brain and Council. In November 2014, Council tasked staff with doing a comprehensive review of recreation fees and charges. And the results of the study are in, and three main key results from our findings is that currently 75% of Recreation Department's operating budget is subsidized by our taxpayers. Secondly, if we maintain the same fees that we're currently charging in recreation, by the year 2020, we will be 27 to 42% lower than the average of communities of a similar geography and population and industry such as Rupert. And thirdly, we've found that there's a necessity to streamline our rate systems here in recreation to improve the ease of use and the accessibility of our facilities. And two of those pieces that we need to key in on are, first of all, maintaining or improving accessibility for our low-income taxpayers and Rupertites to access recreation services, and secondly, to look at amalgamating some of our rates, such as seniors, to ensure that our aging community has the opportunity to continue to access recreation. So the recommendation at this stage is that staff is requesting that Council give first, second, and third readings to the Recreation Fees and Charges Bylaw number 3383/2015, as well as establish a Recreation Capital Reserve Fund in the amount of 5% of all recreation revenues annually in a capital reserve fund for facility maintenance as well as potential expansion in future.
Great, thank you. So I'll just say a few things here. So I think just for the public's awareness here that currently we already, I don't believe, I'm not sure what the exact number is, Ms. Baum, in terms of the 75% and the dollar amount that it translates to. Do you have that offhand?
2015's budget shows $844,000 in revenue and $3.4 million in operating expenses. This equates to a subsidization of $2.556 million.
So the taxpayers already currently subsidize the recreation center by $2.5 million. I think the challenge we have obviously is balancing how much we're raising taxes to increase services versus balancing it with a fee structure that's fair for everybody. Within this is a recreation access program, which allows anyone who's at a certain income demographic to be able to access the recreation center. I believe it's called the Recreation Access Program. And can you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so the Recreation Access Program allows any family that finds themselves below the income threshold cutoff, or the low income cutoff that's set federally. And any eligible family member, regardless of their family size, would receive 50 free admissions to the entire complex throughout a calendar year, as well as any of the registered course fees would be reduced. And so that would mean a discount of 50% for every adult and 90% for every child, up to $300 per eligible individual.
So I think, and then the other thing that changed here is that you guys have taken all of the different, so the seniors and youth have been amalgamized into one rate, as well as, rather than paying separately from the pool, the skating, the gym, all of that is one fee now that they can use within a 3-hour time frame, so that if you go to use the pool, you can then, so that was not the case before, is that correct?
Correct. And so we amalgamated, or we're recommending that we amalgamate the senior and youth and post-secondary rates into one rate, the lowest of the three. And so what that would translate to is a 25% discount for every senior. As well as, like you say, Mayor Brain, that it would give every community member access to all facilities. So during a 3-hour period, they would have opportunity to experience everything the complex has to offer, we're also recommending a daily rate as well, so that there would be an ability for guests to have essentially an in and out ability, that prior to work or the school day, they could attend right through to the end of an evening.
Right. So the other, Mr. Golden brought up in the committee whole was about, if we raise rates, about users actually using the facility. And so you guys are implementing a new software that's going to be able to track how many people are using it year by year, and we can actually see a trend. But currently we don't have that mechanism. Is that
correct? So with our antiquated software we currently have in use, it's very difficult to track those type of trends. With the new software that we're implementing early in 2016, we expect that we'll be able to identify every demographic that walks through the door, as well as the time of day of the week, and we're able to adapt our program offerings based on those demographics and track how participation potentially increases with some of the streamlined nature. Also keeping in mind that with the proposed revised bylaw, we're looking at less than $1 increase for seniors and students by 2020 per admission, and just over $1 increase for adult admissions, and that's over the course of the 5 years. So meaning July 1, 2016 through to December 31, 2020.
So last year we raised rates as well, and the same argument was brought up then. Based on program attendance and all those things this year, would you say that people are using the Civic Center more?
Absolutely. All of the anecdotal response from the community is that the facility has not only been in better condition than it's ever been in, although it's aging 34 to 44 years respectively, it's been better attended than it has been in years.
Right. So this capital reserve fund then, so for example, we had to replace a sauna, we had to get new gym equipment. There's a bunch of capital improvements that have to be done to the building. We have the pools. I believe there's a retaining wall or a wall there that needs some work and things like that. So you're suggesting then a 5% away per year for capital investments back into the Civic Center. Is that what that's for?
Correct. So currently, as part of our asset management program, we haven't identified any specific. So the purpose of the 5% of all revenue would ensure that we are always continually socking away some dollars, so that we have that ability to work on, like you say, Mayor Brain, we've got current leaking problems in the Earl Mile Aquatic Center. We've got a gymnasium floor in the Civic Center that in 44 years of existence has never been sanded down to wood. So there's many, many projects to do, and by stowing away that 5% of revenue, albeit not necessarily a significant dollar, it's a start for us to start to look ahead, that those facilities won't last us forever. And so how can we be diligent stewards and ensure that we're able to maintain, repair, and prepare for the future?
Right. Great. Thank you.
Well, on this increase, would it be prudent to say that if we don't get it or you don't get it, that the increase in taxes will have to come just to maintain the services are there, never mind to increase the services?
Correct.
Because first of all, you're going to have there's definitely capital expenditures. They're going to have to come from the city alone, even though I know you're diligently assuming or pursuing some grants right now for different things. But at the end of the day, if the users aren't paying a little more, then they're going to end up losing in the end, because we'll have to either cut hours or cut programs.
Correct. So in order to be sustainable, that something needs to shift and needs to change. And as we approach, we received findings back from 8 surrounding communities, and again with a number like 27 to 42% lower than the average. Those are communities that are in the same situations we are. And obviously operating costs and our overhead costs are pieces that we're unable to control. And so we need to adapt, and we need to find a way to make that happen by recommending a user pay increase. It alleviates the need to push back on the community as a whole in the form of a tax increase.
And we've never had a capital asset fund in the rec center before.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Mayor Brain. Thank you, Willa, for your report, and it's very well done. I want to compliment you on it. It explains everything very well. The one thing I want to ask, in the budget, are you planning on putting a little bit aside for a lift to go upstairs, so for the seniors and disabled people such as myself?
Yes, actually, we're in the specifications process actually currently. So we have already set aside the dollars for accessibility lifts, both on the 2 sets of stairs at the complex. So at the Armagh Aquatic Centre as well as the Civic Centre, both will have accessibility lifts in 2016. So that's already in motion.
Thank you very much.
Other questions? From,
Good, I can use it.
Other questions from Councillor Nish?
I'd just like to say that also, as Councillor Kinney reported or said about this report, it's very good. The one thing that I like about it is that it's showing basically the increases for the multiple years to 2020, which basically allows people to get an understanding of really the numbers that will be coming in. And if you look at it, like a youth, it's like 13 cents or something per year. And I feel that that's really needs to be put out to the people. If we don't do any increases over 5 years, it's going to be more, if you add up these increases over the 5 years now, that the way they'd be proposed, it's going to be a lot more after 5 years if we're not making that little bit each year in between. And it may be $2 instead of $1 over the 5 years. Unfortunately, we put too much on our taxpayers as it is, and a user pay system is coming more and more to more things. Unfortunately, this will affect myself too. I mean, I spend a lot of time at the Civic Centre with my children.
Councillor Randall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a good report, and we need some more extra revenue, but only concern mine is some break for the youth, because they are the one always have struggling for the money, and especially with our cannery shut down now, loss of jobs, and higher rental market. So people are struggling with the money right now. So I make motion we should make break for the youth.
You're making a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so break for the youth. Okay.
What was that motion? I didn't
making
quite
a
understand
motion
it.
to have a break for the youth in the. Does anybody want to? I'm just thinking about how to word that, what you want out of that. Is there anybody who seconds that motion? Okay, so I'm not hearing any seconders. So, Willa, can you maybe outline a little bit more what we're doing for youth in terms of prices and stuff? Because I understand Councillor Renhauer's concern that we are in that kind of in-between zone where a lot of families are being stressed, rental prices are going up, and we did have a major job loss in the community. So in terms of the youth rate and the recreation access program, can you maybe reiterate some of those pieces?
Sure.
Particularly the drop-in rate, I think, is another part of it.
Absolutely. So just to backtrack for a moment to what Councillor Nish was mentioning about the increase that we had in 2010 and how increases work across the recreation industry, it is quite common to experience a 3 to 5% increase in fees every year. And so the increase in 2010, 2015, we didn't touch any rates since 2010. So it was a 5-year period. We increased by 10%. The math obviously is right in line with how industry would work, and this recommendation also is within that framework. So just to touch on that piece regarding Councillor Randawa and like Mayor Brain, you're saying around the casual drop in rate. So we have actually in this recommendation, although we've increased the other rates, we've also retained the casual gym rate of that $1.10. And so what that looks like is that youth or children that participate, we've blocked off that after school time every day for casual gym. So that's young folks that want to come in and shoot around, or parents and children that want to pass a badminton birdie around, or whatever the case might be, that it is still retaining that casual drop-in, which many of the youth, that's typically where we see the biggest influx of youth. So we have actually carved that rate out. Many communities don't maintain that rate. They will lump them in with all rates together and say regardless of if you're there for an hour or 3 hours, it's the same rate. We're actually maintaining that casual drop-in rate. So that's one of the pieces of how we're trying to lessen the impact on our youth. As well, again, with the recreation access policy, with 50 visits per eligible participant, that's in and around 1 visit per week for every family member, as well as for the registered programs, being a 90% discount. So meaning that it's participants or children would be paying 10% of any registered fee, and of that 10%, they've got $300 per year. So obviously it's very significant savings, and that's for any registered program, from swimming lessons to any of our other dry land or aquatic type programs.
Right. So just one second there, Councillor Kenny.
When you look at this, the one thing that the Rec Commission concentrated on was the fact that youth at risk and any other people would still have access through programs to the facility, and I think that's been well taken care of. And the big problem is if we don't do these rate increases and the actual rec center doesn't start paying a little more towards its own sort of future, then it's going to go like the way of some of the other facilities where they're going to have to shut down a day here or a day there, or start cutting services or staff. So in the end, all the users lose. This way, right now, the way I see it, everyone's still winning, all aspects of the spectrum. And one question that an earlier spokesperson in the Committee of the Whole asked about is staff rates and RCMP and firefighter rates going up as well. And I had indicated at the time I thought so, but I just looking at my notes here, and I don't specifically see that being addressed. So are they going up the same amount, 5% a year?
The rates that originally set for those groups of people were not included in the bylaw rate. I'd feel very comfortable at adjusting them and having them match whatever we do with the community, so that the entire community as a whole accesses our facilities at the same rate. So there isn't a division. I'm happy to explore that. And also, as Councillor Cunningham mentioned about youth at risk, we currently have a Youth in Motion grant from the Healthy Communities Integration Committee with Northern Health. And so we're offering free youth programming monthly. And so that's another opportunity for youth to come in and participate in a variety of activities. They're also fed and watered when they're there. So there is a standing monthly event for youth in our community as well.
So,
okay, if I could make a recommendation or add it to the resolution that the rate increases include all users, so that there's no specific or special groups being left out of it.
I'd second that motion.
Okay.
So the recommendation would change to include that, or actually, a discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor on that amendment? Okay. Okay, motion's carried. One last thing I was just going to say here before we move the full recommendation is that, that at the end of the day, you'll never turn away a child from the Civic Center. Is that correct?
Correct. Under no circumstance would we ever turn a community member away.
Okay. Okay, so the recommendation with the amendment put forward by Councillor Cunningham is to give first, second, third reading to the Recreation Fees Charges Bylaw number 3383/2015 and establish a Recreation Capital Reserve Fund.
I second it.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Kenny, second by Councillor Cunningham. Okay, any further discussion? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's some benefit, like programs for everybody to get free, but most of the time when people go there, they see the rates the books you send homes every day, and they check on the internet. And they don't know, mostly people don't even know those programs are there. So that's why my suggestion is we should give break to kids, to youth, so they can attend over there instead of running around outside and smashing cars or other thing. I rather like to see those people over there.
Well, I guess, I'm not sure what else to say to that. I think we've done everything we possibly can to address that, but it's an absolute concern. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. I think we've done everything in our power. The rates, I believe, are quite reasonable for youth. So I'm not sure how else to address that, but I just want you to know that I'm definitely hearing you on that. Councillor Morrow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All I would add to that, Councillor Rendau, is that we are the ones with the control of the pricing mechanism, but it's Willa's job really to market that service, and that's what we've entrusted her to do. And so I'm going to trust that she's going to continue to market that program, because we know how generous of a subsidy it is, and it does address that concern in particular. The one thing I want to add just before we vote is the main concern I've heard from people about rate increases in particular to the recreation facility is I haven't heard someone say that they're not willing to pay a higher rate if they're assured that the quality of the facility is going to be maintained and improved, because people don't want to pay increased rates for the quality of the facility to continue to deteriorate. So that's why I'm strongly in favor of establishing this recreation capital reserve fund. It's something that's long overdue, and I think that goes a long way to assuring those people that new revenue from those user fees, instead of being increasingly subsidized by general taxpayers, will go directly into capital improvements, which we all know are very needed on an aging facility.
Great. Councillor Nish?
I was just going to say more about trying to push the programs and maybe advertise them a bit more. And where are these programs available? Is it right at the rec center they can apply for this, or do they have to go online, or most of these programs? How is it set up?
So currently, in person or over the telephone is typically how registration works. With the new recreation software, we'll also have the ability for online registration. So we'll always welcome folks into our facilities to register. There will also be an opportunity when we have online registration that folks are able to register at home. And with the leisure guide that Councillor Rendawa had mentioned, it's issued quarterly. It's also out earlier than it's ever been in history. So we've got that ability to get ahead of the curve with families trying to make plans for their children and their families to know how they're spending their time. So mid-November, we've already circulated for the January to March period. And so that way, again, another opportunity for families to be well aware in advance what's coming up so that we can start to help increase program registration as well.
Also, just to add to that, is that our communication manager, Veronica Stewart, has created an infographic for the community that will get on social media, and then we'll be able to reach thousands of community members to be able to promote these programs, because that is the next step here, is really being able to highlight what is available. And also, just clarify, so these rates, we're not passing the final adoption tonight, but these rates would be applicable starting July 1st now? That's the way you're...
Correct. So the recommendation is that July 1, 2016. So we've got months of time to inform user groups and ensure they're aware of those changes. In addition, with proposing a 5-year set of fees and charges, every user group, every rental, everything from a birthday party to a public skate, and every minor sport organization would have the opportunity to know and educate their users or their members what they can expect to pay. So if you're one of the local minor sport organizations, you know for the coming 5 years what your revenue for registration fees might look like based on, you'll understand years in advance what the costs will be.
Great. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.